I'm Robin Carey for the Customer Collective, and it's my pleasure today to be interviewing Robert Mahowald, analyst with IDC. And Robert is the research director for SaaS and cloud computing, and looking forward to talking to him about SaaS. Robert, can you give us a sense of, well, what SaaS means?
Sure, absolutely, Robin. SaaS is a delivery and licensing model for delivering applications. So typically, people buy applications, install them on site in their data centers, and actually run and have users access from that data center on site. This is a model for delivering applications as managed services over the internet via a subscription model. It's as easy as that.
It sounds easy.
Yeah.
I know it's been around for a while, but how is it doing? How is SaaS as a business model performing during this downturn?
Well, it's a good question. During the downturn, this has actually been a very, very good time for SaaS providers. This is a climate that's very similar to the downturn we had about 10 years ago, which is the one that gave Salesforce.com its real big boost. And so what we've found is that during the hardest hit months last fall, the last quarter of last year, SaaS providers actually did a lot of new business. And because it uses operational expenditure budgeting rather than capital expenditure budgeting, because you're actually not spending for new equipment or new software licenses, you're actually paying via subscription. Customers find it a very attractive model for acquiring and sourcing new applications.
It sounds great, but what if I'm a customer who already has legacy systems? What about the cannibalization of my current software?
Sure, so that's something that people, both vendors and users, need to be aware of and to figure out a strategy for. So if you're a customer, your goal as a CIO is to figure out how to source application functionality that meets the needs of your internal customers. And so some of those needs are going to be met through the legacy applications that you have. But for a long time, we've seen CIOs wanting to evolve a strategy of service rationalization. They want to service orient their IT stacks anyway. And SaaS providers are a good way to get a start on doing that, because SaaS applications typically are engineered in a way that they can make web calls into each other. Their APIs are published and well-known, well understood. Transferring data back and forth between them is a fairly doable thing. And so it's part and parcel of the direction that CIOs are already on.
So, forget the past and embrace the future. What are some good examples of SaaS implementations that you can talk about?
Sure. So the most commonly thought of ones are business applications. So sales enablement, CRM, e-business suite from the big brand names out there. Some of the less common ones are in billing and analytics and other functional applications. But people tend to think of software as a service and just think of business applications. But really, there are two other big components to it. One is systems infrastructure. The systems, the software as a service systems that actually run and manage these software services, and then application development deployment systems for building new applications and deploying those applications. So it's a combination of those three that really make software as a service compelling and really spread it across the spectrum of software as we know it.
A lot of people are also hearing today about cloud computing, and I know that's part of your responsibility. Is there any difference between SaaS and cloud computing?
That's a good question, and it's probably the number one question I'm asked. And I would say that the difference is that cloud computing is at the intersection between what we've traditionally understood as managed services and the business model that SaaS has introduced the world to. So it's a transfer of responsibility to a service provider. So there's an SLA and the user is indemnified, but that responsibility is transferred. It's a transfer of risk, and it's moving from a capital expenditure to an operational expenditure. So we don't purchase the perpetual license up front. We actually license it as a subscription. And cloud, I think customers can come to think of cloud as being a superset of what SaaS now delivers, but the real innovation is in the business model.
That's interesting. Is there any difference between the risk in SaaS and cloud? I mean, since risk is a huge issue right now.
Right. So potentially because cloud can be viewed more expansively, and I think that ultimately when we get involved with using cloud for different workloads, different data processing, business data analysis, and that kind of aspect, it might take us far afield of using one-to-one siloed applications, and so that aspect of the business using cloud for heterogeneous processes might introduce a different level of risk. It's just one that users need to be aware of as they move along, but it's one that providers are also aware of, and they're looking for ways to build guarantees and do their SLAs and indemnify the customer.
Okay. What's the outlook for SaaS going forward? What's it going to look like in 5 years?
Sure, it's a good question. So it's right now SaaS has been developed as essentially point solutions, siloed applications, largely to take care of a specific business need. What we see is a shift toward platform as a service, and that being the real growth driver for SaaS. So an opportunity to not only have applications that you consume as SaaS applications, but also a platform on which to build and provision custom objects and applications if you're a developer, a third-party developer, or an ISV. And then finally, if you're a customer, a user of SaaS applications, using that same platform to actually develop new custom front ends and ways to integrate your data applications. That platform play, we think, is where the future of SaaS is.
It sounds a little bit like social CRM where we're heading then.
Well, it's an excellent point, and in the sense that social CRM is another way to create content and customize your applications. It is.
Great. Thanks so much, Robert. I really appreciate your taking the time to talk to the Customer Collective today.
Thanks, Robin.